I mean, I think the lines are pretty well drawn on that, and the sides are pretty well dug in. But the question is about how to handle it. And normally, you know, we saw this in Washington, D.C. on the health care vote that President Obama wanted. The Tea Partiers and the Republicans did not want that law to go through. And the Democrats did a procedural maneuver in the Senate where they got it through with 51 votes instead of 60, and that's just life. Now that's law. Why isn't the same answer in place now for the Democrats who are losing? Well, they're losing, but they're losing fairly in Wisconsin.
More health care for more Americans was not as hurtful as less education and less health care and fewer jobs. And maybe what you see here is the rise of hurt and people acting out their democratic rights and sharing their pain, and they want to be heard. And I feel that when they're steamrolled as they were in the Assembly and as they are in the Senate, people are going to fight back until the governor hears them and engages in deliberative democracy and not ramrod democracy. It simply will not work. Whether in Cairo or Madison, it will not work.
How is it ramrodding to hold a vote, for example, today in the Assembly, with the lawmakers present? I mean, I know what your point is about the Senate. They did it with the Democrats out of town, but the Democrats left voluntarily. But how is it ramrodding in the Assembly?
There were assemblymen who couldn't even vote. They were denied the right to vote, and their mics were turned off. They ramrodded the vote to the House. And, of course, he promised to negotiate with the senators. And, of course, yesterday he did a maneuver. And so these maneuvers are inciting more anger and more pain and more fear. I hope people governed by deliberation and governed by reconciliation and not by ramrodding politics. It's going to create a rebellion. So now it's revolt and recall. Let me tell you, April 5th is a big election. And April 5th is the magic day. People can't on April 5th, and I think they will and be heard through that democratic process. They remain nonviolent and disciplined. Ultimately, they will prevail.
What do you mean?
Thank you.
What do you mean revolt, Reverend Jackson?
Well, what you see now is a massive revolt. When you see children leaving school because they feel hurt with the K through 12 cut. You see teachers revolting because they feel their jobs are being lost. People facing home foreclosures with no place to go. They're revolting against a system that's not working for them. Too few got too much. Too many are getting poorer, and the middle class is sinking. That means the people here need a better deal. Workers in America need a better deal.
And they've been pushing for that better deal, but a lot of folks, and I see the teachers and the union folks, or whoever it is, actually I shouldn't assume it's teachers, nodding their heads in agreement with you next to you. But the other side says, look, how are they in a position to complain right now when Governor Walker decided to try to compromise even on collective bargaining? In fact, he reached out to them and said, I will change the deal. I'll let you collectively bargain over salaries with no limit, which was better. His original plan was you can only negotiate for salary increases up to inflation. He said we can talk about negotiating over mandatory overtime, performance bonuses, hazardous duty pay, even classroom size. I'll put all of that back on the table, and then we'll have a vote. Now, he didn't have to do any of that because the Republicans control both houses, but he did that. The Democrats reportedly rejected it, saying we don't get to vote over, or we don't get to negotiate over sick pay and sick leave and vacation pay. Well, then that's not good enough. I'm almost done. I'm sorry. Let me just finish the point. You're going and going. My apologies. I just want to set it up so people know, because they don't necessarily read all the Wisconsin papers. And so the supporters from the other side say he's done his best to negotiate, and there was nothing wrong with him doing what he had to do procedurally when he was rejected. Go ahead, sir.
Well, he is not. That's why workers had to walk away. He's not done his best. And when you take away collective bargaining, then you take away collectivity and you take away content. That's why you can get away with $900 million in cuts for education, and you can try to change the standards for Medicare and K through 12 education, because you must resolve this issue with some shared pain and shared sensitivity. He must govern not just Republicans, but the Republic. He must govern all the citizens, not just a party. He's not the governor of a party, he's the governor of the state. And therefore, all state sensitivities ought to be taken into account, indeed the least among us.
And my final
Thank you very much. I have to go now.
My final question for you, sir, before I let you go, is it seems like you're saying you should look at the popular will and govern accordingly. Again, I go back to the health care legislation. The popular will was against that bill, and yet President Obama and the Democrats pushed that through on a national level. You felt very differently about that piece of legislation than you do about this one.
Well, because 59 million Americans don't have health insurance, people are dying because of that. 50 million Americans are in poverty. 44 million on food stamps. So there's a sense in which the wealthy have been subsidized, and they're getting much wealthier without connection to manufacturing, and poor people are dying. So there's a sense of death for the poorest people and surplus for the wealthiest. And so that's something about that is unhealthy for our democracy. So as Roosevelt fought for a new deal, we now need a better deal for the American worker. You can't close plants here and take jobs to clip labor markets and leave people with no place to stay and can't educate their children and think they're going to take it lying down. Workers are righteously, nonviolently fighting back, and that's the best thing they can do. Thank you very much.
Reverend Jackson, thank you so much for your time. All the best.